Greetings, everyone. Hi, this is Sunil Benedict here. It's exactly 4 o'clock, so I've been told to address all of you between 4 and 6. So I'm wondering whether I should actually begin right now, or are we waiting for somebody else, to start? Probably we'll give it a minute if that's okay with all of you. Is that okay?
Yes, sir, it's okay.
Yes, sir.
Because I don't really know how large your audience is. I think I can see around 15 people. So I'm just wondering if it's rather better. I won't hold for too long. I'll start in exactly a minute from now. Okay. It's less than a minute, 30 seconds from now. Okay, so I think we're past 30 seconds, whatever I said for everyone. So greetings, everyone, again. I hope all of you are well. I believe this is a mentorship session. It's an opportunity for you and I to talk. I'm wondering if any one of you wants me to introduce myself or not, or when would you like to have this done? If it's not too difficult for you all to open up your camera so that I can see you at least once. I'm probably meeting you just one time. I'm not too sure if I've met any of you before. So I think it would be rather better if I could see you all face to face, if it's possible. I mean, if your network bandwidth is good and whatever, I think it's a good opportunity for us to see ourselves. Right. So hi, everybody. It looks much better now. At least it's not completely empty with just audio. So, I mean, um, it's all left up to you. I believe some of you have had questions to ask about your careers and things that you wanted me to talk about. So do you want me to go first? Do you want me to introduce myself, or do you want to go first? I'm fine with either approach, actually.
Please introduce yourself.
Okay. So my name is Sunil Benedict. I head a consulting organization. I'm a senior management consultant for IV1. It's into financial consulting as well as climate change consulting. I worked for about 22 years as of now. Started my career with Wipro Infotech around 22 years ago. My first exposure was to market capitalization, of how it can be used as a tool of analyzing a company's performance. I moved on to work for a company called as Intel in Treasury after that. So I spent a couple of years in Treasury. I set up the middle office and back office functions for Intel. Have all of you heard of the chip making company called Intel? The company that makes processor chips, yeah. So yes, I did the setup of their treasury, back office, and middle office functions from Intel, Japan, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, US, UK. Set up the middle office, worked with the technology team to build what we call as the global treasury system. After that, I worked for Lehman Brothers in Mumbai. When Lehman Brothers went down, I moved into financial IT, technology side of IT. So then I moved into a company called as Exchanging. I spent about 4 years there. Post which I worked for the Swiss Bank in Singapore. I was the assistant vice president for strategy and governance. For Credit Suisse in Singapore for reference data. Post which I worked for Deutsche Bank for about 8 years. So more or less, I mean, my career span around 22 years. Most of my time I've spent with investment banks and IT companies and finance, and in the role of being a business analyst for those companies. Consulting happened quite recently, since February 2018. It gave me an opportunity to work with Indian Aerospace and several other startup tech companies, helping businesses to get established, building business models, building financial models for quite a few customers. My education background, I happen to have my degree in economics from St. Joseph's College, Bangalore. I have my MBA in finance from Bangalore as well, my master's in finance from the US. I am a certified Six Sigma black belt in quality methodologies. I also did my financial engineering and risk management from the Bombay Stock Exchange. I also did my project management from National Institute of Industrial Engineering in Mumbai. I'm also PMP certified from PMI in the US, Philadelphia. I'm actually recertified twice. I'm also a certified business analyst from George Washington University School of Business. I'm a certified lead auditor from IRC in the UK. I've done over 200 audits of various processes and agile processes within companies, auditing them for completeness, accuracy, and timeliness. ISO 9001 2008 standards. Also was involved in a CMMI level 5 audit process. So overall, my career encompasses around 2 decades to 22 years. I've seen over 25 countries in these last 22 years. Worked out of Russia for a while, Singapore, Japan, US, UK, even China, Philippines, been to the US thrice. So anyway, this is a brief about who I am and what I do. So someone asked me to introduce myself. I have done it. Do you have any questions? Guys, the one thing you shouldn't do in these 2 hours is keeping silent. I hope you heard me.
Sir, let me ask you a question. Myself,
Can you switch on your camera if you don't mind? I want to see
I'm in the office. Actually, I'm in an office. I work in a bank.
Oh, so, interesting. Where do you work?
I work in DCB Bank.
Good. Yes, tell me, please.
Yeah, I heard about your you were telling about the education, about your education. How you have completed while you are doing the work? You have completed.
So most of my education took place after I started working. Okay. There's something that I was quite good at, which is I'm very quick in grasping things, and more or less the reason why I worked towards trying to master myself in whichever area that I was in is primarily to make sure that I progress in my career. I saw a huge difference between what I wanted to be in my life vis-a-vis what I was when I started my work experience. So I saw the gap quite large, and I saw the irrelevancy of education when I started working actually. Till then, it didn't occur to me that I had to be somebody, you know. To be somebody took years. So none of this, I forgot to also mention, I have my 4 years in Orthodox theology from Greece in Byzantine theology. That's the other aspect of philosophy and theology that I also studied for 4 years. I just finished that in 2015. So it took me years to master myself in the area that I wanted to be in. And one of the primary reasons was that, like I said, I saw a big disconnect between what I studied at college, especially in India, and then the nature of the work that I was doing. I couldn't see a common, what do I say? I didn't identify. I was like, what in the world am I doing? You know? So once that happened, I realized that I had to spend time mastering myself and becoming better at what I did. So I'm not too sure if it answered your question, but then it took me, from there, when I saw myself, that big gap towards what I really wanted to be and what I wanted to become and develop to become, it took me quite a few years to master myself. So I think I stopped studying. I'm talking of certifications. I think I stopped studying only in 2018. So it took me quite a few years to become what I wanted to be. You know.
So sorry to interrupt you, sir. So these all the studies, whatever you have completed, it's the part-time, or it's how it's a regular courses? Or,
the advantage with working with some of the investment banks is that they have an opportunity for you to be able to do some study programs from within the company. So most of it, not most, around 50% of that was those programs that were available within the company for me to master and grow and become. The others were programs that I took up from universities abroad and worked steadily at it. Some of these programs required me to go for around 20 days a year to a certain location to get my practical exposure or my project side of things to complete. So some of it required me to do that. Not everything was part-time, as it were. So a lot of these certifications. For example, my certified Six Sigma and black belt methodologies. I received my certification from Annexus in Denmark, but I had to prove that I was able to save more than $100,000 for the company that I worked for at that time, based on a project that I had submitted through the company to them. So I had to prove that I was capable of saving so much of money, post which I received my certification as a certified Six Sigma black belt. So not everything is necessarily courses that the company helped me pursue. Some of it I had to do it on my own. Obviously, when you're working, you do not have the time to do a full-time program, but you still have the opportunity to use your weekends properly, which I did. I actually forgot to mention that I also have, I finished a year in business law, my master's in business law from National Law School. So I just forgot to mention that. So anyway, so yes, I did use my time fruitfully.
Yeah, sir. I got clear, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Somebody, Shubha.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, Shubh. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Aditya. Yes.
After
Is that
Shubh, I will
Aditya?
ask. Yes, sir. After Shubh, I will ask. I think he is
Okay.
in first.
Oh, why is it that I can't see all of you? Are all of you sitting at work?
No, sir. I'm at my home. I'll switch on.
Okay.
Am I
Excellent.
visible?
See, this is the look I like, yeah. Makes me feel that I'm in a classroom, actually.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, go on, please.
Sir, actually, I am a student. I'm
Fantastic.
a BBA honors.
What are you doing?
I'm still doing my BBA honors from Ahmedabad University.
Nice. Okay, tell me, please. Yeah.
And you have happened to study in a lot of foreign universities, and also I'm planning to get a MBA myself after 2 years of work experience. So,
Yes.
what do you suggest? Should we go abroad? Should we stay in
See,
India?
the thing is, it's a very frequent question that many of my students ask. You know, where do I do? What do I do? So, irrespective of what I've done today, I've reached a standpoint where I think is education really the answer to all that I'm seeking for? Is a big question mark. I'll tell you why. There are some programs that, see, let me again step back a little. So before you choose a university, obviously one has to decide why one wants to do a program. See, there are too many what's available, meaning, should I choose this stream? Should I choose that stream? Is that the specialization? Is this one the specialization? So there are umpteen options available. And having umpteen options available today just confuses oneself even more. I was in your state. Actually, I'm still in your state, by the way. I'm going to the UK in a week from now. I'm pursuing other programs. So I'm still in your state. However, there's one question that I ask myself quite often, which is, why do I want to do something? You know, if the why is clear, the what is answerable. So here's the thing: if you want to do an MBA because you want to have a brand on your head, you know, like a feather in the cap, like some people call it, then it's futile. It's a waste of time and effort and energy to do anything for that matter, just because there has to be a brand. But on the other hand, if you're very focused and you know that there is this program that I need to master, for example, suppose you want to do your master's in, it's only an example. Suppose you want to do your master's in financial engineering and you foresee yourself being somebody who can build financial models for companies to look at, so that they're able to look at projections more simply, so that they're able to analyze, say, 10 years profit after tax with a few variables and build a simulation model where you run 500 experiments in less than a minute. And you plan to, say, build that with Python and ML and machine learning algorithms, so that predictions become possible, more simpler than one having to go through laborious work on a spreadsheet and trying to build models the way it exists today. So, suppose that is your dream, then go ahead and pursue it, because the why is clear. When the why is clear, irrespective of what you do, everything is a waste of time. Because what happens, especially, let's talk India, then let's talk the US and UK, okay? And we can talk even about a couple of countries. A given MBA program from a very good business school. Now, when I say very good business school, It's
What?
obvious. Yeah, the real good ones, as in either the ions or one step below, things like that will possibly cost today something like 10 to 12 lakhs an annum,
Yeah.
approximately. The same business schools of the same caliber in Dubai or in the UK, the US will again cost the same amount of money. So a lot of students, whom I meet say, no, I want to go abroad and do it because it's just 1 year. In India, I have to do it for 2 years. I have to spend 10 and 12 lakhs a year, and then again 10 and 12 lakhs next year. And it's not like I'm going to move out of the institute with a flying job in my career, because those flying jobs do not exist anymore. See, there's only so much to choose from, no, when it comes to exposure. See, on the other hand, what a program in the US or the UK gives you is tremendous exposure, but to a field, in a field of knowledge which is growing. If you go all the way from here to the UK or the US, and all that you do is you just pick up, say, marketing as a subject, and then you specialize, say, in marketing analytics, but you've not learned any tools and technologies, again, it's a waste of time. Because if you do not learn the practical side of it, what is the use of education ultimately? It sounds very good when one starts in their career, putting all this in the resume. When at the point of time that I'm in, my education is half a page. I mean, where in the world do I put it? So it's all come to a point with respect, what is it that I can prove? What business problem can I solve? What financial problem can I solve? It ultimately boils down to just that. One rather, I want to go with another flow of thought. Now, this could be something highly relevant, but I'll tell you how it becomes relevant. One could spend even time, a year or two, understanding and learning Sanskrit, for that matter, and that will bring about a more explosive understanding and a relationship with data that we use in ML, compared to us having to go through a rigorous program of having to go through books and pedagogy and methodology of trying to understand the subject, where the head is still not ready to absorb. You know what I mean? There are times when our head is, I'm not saying your head, I'm just giving an example. There are times when we want to do things, but the mind is still not ready. So when the mind is not ready, you cannot absorb, right? However good it might appear. But when the mind is attuned to the right ways of absorbing content, especially in spirituality, the advantage that one has is one can grasp things much faster at the end. So it's all about, boils down to one question: what is it that you want to do? And before you ask the what, why? If that becomes clear, choosing university becomes easier. The problem is that as we're talking, there are too many offshoots of what we call as education. None of them are actually education providers. They're just branders. They brand a given subject. They don't go deep enough. In a given MBA in India, they will spend 3 months in cost accounting, 3 months in management accounting, 3 months in financial accounting, and will rich authors like Prasanna Chandra, who happens to be in India, a brain in financial management. They will make sure you study him for 4 months. Now, how in the world are you going to study Prasanna Chandra, who's a professor of finance at IIM Bangalore, and even IIM Ahmedabad uses his textbooks? How are you going to finish his content in 4 months when it's going to take you nothing less than 5 to 6 years for you to be able to go through it rigorously? So an MBA doesn't master you at all. It gives you a shallow experience, and then you go out in the real world, and then you're wondering, had I gone through more detail, it would have been better. Had I to do my CFA, my Chartered Financial Analyst program, or my CA, rather than my MBA, it would have been rather better. See, what is it you're seeking for, no? If that becomes clear, putting together a study program in terms of what will suit your personality is very simple. I'm sorry for the lengthy answer, but I hope it clarifies.
Yes, it does, sir. It does.
Yes, thank you. So, yes, somebody else is raising, I don't know, more than one person. Maitri, yes, please.
Hello, sir.
Hi.
Hi, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, tell me, please.
Sir, by qualification, I'm a chartered accountant and a
Fantastic.
company secretary.
Nice.
Nice.
When did you finish your
Only
chartered accountancy?
long back, sir, 2010.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
Thing is, after qualification, anybody would have gone for job. But what
Yes.
I did is, I got married. I took a break of 10 years.
Which is also a job,
Yes,
a different kind of
this
job.
is different job. But
Right.
only thing is no salary. That's it.
Right, right, right.
So now
Right.
I'm back to like my son is, 6 years now. Okay, fine. He's
Yeah.
manageable.
Right.
Now I want to, because the amount of effort that goes for passing CE and CS is not
Absolutely.
easy.
Yes. Many, many hours of rigorous work. Yes.
Many years, sir. 5 years
Yes.
course.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So coming to the point, so we are doing this course,
Right.
financial program pedigree.
Right.
Okay. So where in an organization do we fit after doing this course?
Yeah.
Do we fit in what would be the career path?
Right.
Like how you go on improvising and where the
Right.
maximum do we reach?
So
Because now,
yeah, I got you more or less, and you can always ask follow-up questions, no problem at all. We have enough time till 6. But then I'll try and address your concern. I'll possibly address the concern of a few others who may have the same kind of thought process in the mind. Now, your question comes primarily because you've had an education, in fact, a real solid one, post which life took certain turns, and
yes.
and it's fine. You want to come back to working in a company, which is absolutely fine. What is it that you do is the question, right? I'll give you a synopsis in terms of where your skills really are. Now, obviously, your skills are very strong in the area of your profit loss account, your balance sheet, your journal entries, your trial balance, putting all that together in a ledger and whatever, right up to feeding it into the balance sheet. Obviously, you're aware. So you're an easy fitment for anybody in any division that includes accounting, that includes finance, that includes investment banking. In investment banking alone, there are around 25 to 30 divisions that require people with skill sets like yourself. Let me give an example. Whether it is corporate finance, whether it is investment management, whether it is trade processing, whether it is settlements, confirmation, treasury, money market issuance, certificates of deposits, understanding documents like that, whether it is custody as a process or depository as a function, principal paying agency functions, fiscal agency functions, corporate actions processing or processing of payments for euro bonds and standalone bonds, things like that, understanding legal documentation of how financial instruments are put together, trying to get the financial data out of it and extract it and put it onto an application that somebody in technology is building. That could be your area. Again, it boils down to what is it that you want to do. See, the world as we see it today is very vast, and the area of finance is growing at an enormous pace, so large that the rate of change in finance, as we call it today, is faster than the rate of growth of the economy. Not the traditional understanding of finance, but the way in which finance can be practically applied. You don't lack a single thing. Please do not look at yourself as somebody who took a break and is returning back to a career. People can take breaks anytime in their career. Nothing stops them from returning back. That's not the point. Your skill sets, the other way to put whatever you said is, you have had a skill set or you have a skill set today, but you've not used it for long. Right? So when you've not used a skill set for long, obviously it'll appear as though you're not sharp enough. I mean, you
no,
know, but you're not sharp enough.
No, thing is like I took a break from working from outside, but I was doing my family business accounts, all those things I've done.
Yeah. So if you already have some exposure to a company, which you didn't speak about when you asked me the question.
Yes. No, I was in US, sir. The past 10 years I was in US.
That's okay.
So recently.
So if you already have an exposure of whatever you have done, whichever area of work that is, See, no matter where you start, uh, no one is expecting you to have exposure in every area. There are a few areas that have already become clear to you with respect to where you think your skill sets are. Obviously, when you're building the books of accounts for a partnership or even for a sole proprietorship, you know that there are certain things you've got to do and the way in which transactions occur. All of that is clear. But what is not clear is how do you value a company?
Yeah,
Because I am not too sure how hands-on you are with the dew point equation. I'm not too sure how good you are with the interpretation of ratios. I'm not too sure how good you are with assessing how much of debt and private equity does a company need to apply for when it wants to build a valuation model. See, there are things that you're aware of, there are things you're not aware of. Right.
Right.
My suggestion is only two. First, if you can spend around 20 hours mastering what you already know, and then another 20 hours working on valuation models. Right now, I don't know what your exposure is in this program, because I don't know. I don't know whether you're meeting me at the end of the program or I don't know whether you're meeting me in between. I really don't know. Are you meeting me at the end or at the beginning, or all
So
of
we
you?
are also completely clueless of what
No.
it's going to be.
Just tell me clearly, is your financial modeling program over? Are you in between?
No, we are in the middle, like almost two
You're in the
months.
middle.
So,
So
yes.
if you're in the middle, you have ample amount of time to work on valuation models, strategic valuation models. If you want to write it down, write it down. If you want the name of an author, I can give it to you. Strategic valuation models. Spend around 20 hours preparing yourself for that, because see, the traditional aspect of finance you can handle anyway because you know it. But I am not convinced even now. Gurula, if you could just wait for a moment, if you could just mute yourself, please. I'm just answering the previous question. So I'm not too convinced at this point in time, because from having to interact with other friends of mine who are chartered accountants, they're not too well versed with valuation models.
Yes, it's completely new, sir. It's completely new.
Yeah.
Because what we have done.
Yeah, I know that they don't know. So spend a significant amount of time in building and analyzing valuation models, interpreting valuation models. For example, an enterprise value by EBITDA, if it is about a certain ratio like 1 or 1.5, what significance does it really have?
Sir, that is, sorry to interrupt you, that is the concept which you're telling, like financial valuation and or enterprise valuation, that is being taught in the CA. Yes, sir.
Aditya, wait, man, can I just complete the question?
Sure.
You're just making a statement. Can I just complete the answer, please? Yeah.
Sure, sir.
Yeah. So Maitri, what are we talking about? So I'm giving you an example of
interpreting valuation.
Yes, valuation models and building valuation models. So there is an author called as Prasanna Chandra. I hope you know his spelling. It's P-R-A. Yeah, Prasanna Chandra. The name of the book he wrote is called Corporate Valuation.
Corporate Valuation.
The name of the publisher is McGraw-Hill.
Can you come again, sir?
McGraw-Hill. McGraw-Hill. It's an excellent author to follow, primarily because that book comes with a lot of case studies and active test cases. So it is not something that you can study in 20 hours. That's not what I meant. I meant practice it in 20 hours. See, if you read the book over the course of, say, a month, 20 days, whatever, you'll be able to grasp what he's talking about, because you're not a newcomer to finance. I wouldn't have suggested this to somebody who's just talking to me first time, but you're already in it. So it's quite possible for you to be able to assimilate and build your competency around this area as well. That will give you an exposure to know what area to go in. Concluding with your question with respect to what areas should I look at, corporate finance is full of opportunities. There are a lot of companies which need people to build valuation models, but you're not going to do it so easily unless you attach yourself with some legal firm. See, in the nature of the activities that are involved in raising private equity, the first person a customer wants to raise money will normally meet people through a lawyer So you got to build some network among yourself with very good existing corporate lawyers and build your resume in a manner that they understand that you do this kind of work.
Okay.
Because they're not going to come to a chartered accountant directly unless they know that you have expertise in this kind of role already. Now, in the nature of the experience that you quoted to me, obviously you've taken a break for a while and then you're returning. So not everyone is going to know who you are, right? So it's rather better for you to work with wherever you live, whichever city you live in. Try and work with corporate lawyers and build your resume and content around you being an expert in financial modeling. And once you do that, you'll see opportunities pouring in. I'm not too sure whether you're ready for the full-time job yet, but it's still an area to look at. So that's one. Corporate finance, treasury, certainly umpteen of opportunities. There are many investment banks where they would need people like you, whether it's for mergers or acquisitions or the traditional areas in finance and investment banking certainly require people with skill set like yours. Apart from all of this, the last point I want to end with is diversity is very huge in many investment banks. What I mean by diversity is if there is a certain role or if there are 5 roles open for a certain function, they have a diversity plan, which means they must recruit out of 5 people, 3 to 4 women first, and then men. So there are umpteen amount of opportunities that will pour into your plate because of the diversity option. So try and explore that, which will give you an opportunity for you to be able to work in such companies. My answer was lengthy, but there's quite a few areas that you touched upon. So it's important for me to give you a thorough view.
Okay. So last thing I want to conclude. You said corporate lawyers. Are these different from normal lawyers? Because normal lawyers,
law has several functions.
Okay.
Right. The corporate lawyers are the ones which work with companies. So company lawyers.
Legal advice.
Yes, legal advisors to companies.
Okay.
Because when startups, see, India has a startup climate now.
Yes. Everywhere.
We are seeing this trend for the last decade.
Yes.
So they're going to approach these corporate lawyers for them to be able to structure a program for them to receive money from abroad. They're going to work with them anyway. So when you learn to work with not one, a couple of corporate lawyers and trying to see who you can fit with and tell them that this is the kind of work you can do, you have your credentials, which are sufficient for you to start this work. But having a knowledge of what Prasanna Chandra takes you through in that particular book, it's a beautiful book to read. It gives you enough exposure to know what to look at.
Yes, sir.
Right, and then you can build your competence. And it's like one stage of career that you're in opens up another stage, and that opens up another stage, and things will happen. Yeah. Yes, Aditya, you had a question? Aditya, did you have a question or just a statement?
Nice to hear the elaborated answer.
Sir.
Okay, so somebody else is asking. Yes, tell me please, whoever is asking. Rohit, you wanted to ask something? I can see you on my screen. I don't know why.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Sir. I hope you're well.
Yes. Actually, I would like to thank you for giving us the time, your precious time.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Yeah. My question is, what practices should I follow or should we follow to overcome that day-to-day challenges in our work? In challenges in means of that interview challenge or work practice. Yeah, that kind of.
Right. Do you work right now, Rohit?
Yes, I'm working.
Okay. Is that a job which makes you occupied a lot? Is that why you're asking that way?
Oh, no, actually, I'm not in that. My question is not in that way, but
right.
As a regular question or general questions.
So you're asking, how do I work with challenges that you have?
Yeah, yes. I want to listen to your experience in that way.
What type of challenges, if I may kind of understand? If you can give me an example of what kind of challenges you're asking for.
It's the challenges that you have faced in your while you are working. That is
like for example. So if you want me to give an example, see, I'm obviously married. I have 2 children. So let's start with one example. Like how do I move myself up in the career when I have challenges at home? Let's start with that. Or if I face a lot of stress, what is it that I do? Maybe I'll talk about these two things,
Yes,
and
yes.
then perhaps if that opens up other areas that you can ask, you can feel free to ask. So, see, uh, I thank my mentors for having spent significant amount of time with me, trying to groom me to become what I am today. I wouldn't be what I am today if not for certain mentors that I had. So let me give you an example, right? I'm not too sure when I gave the detailed introduction about myself, whether I told all of you that I do sing. I also sing. I did my 5th grade in English vocals classic from Trinity College in London. So, so I do sing English classical. So how do I manage my time with respect to have my busy schedule? I work almost all days of the week. How do I do consulting and training and development and other things is primarily because of one quality that I learned from my mentors with respect to how do I put a structure to my life. So very simple. Every day of mine has a structure, which means that irrespective of the surprises that may come in a given day, I know for certain that there are certain tasks that I will accomplish today. And if I do not do that, I will not sleep. So let me give an example, right? In front of me, where I sit normally in my room, there is date on one side, and one column is date. Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth column are things that I got to do this day. For example, if I'm planning, I read approximately 2 to 3 books a week on an average. Last week I finished 3 books. This week I'm still reading. I think hopefully by Sunday I'll finish the second one. So that is one column. The second column is what I want to accomplish in the area of singing, which means how many chants or how many ancient classics have I learned. The third is how many words in the English language do I master. The fourth one, because if you notice, I do believe that I've been talking at a good rate, and I do have at least an above the normal communication skill in the English language. So how did that come about? Is primarily because of hours and hours of speaking content to several audiences like yourself. But how did my mentors train me? Let me give an example. So there was a person called as Raj Paul, one of my early mentors. He used to make sure that I write every single comma and full stop that I'm going to speak. So before giving a lecture for about 20, 30 minutes, I made sure that I would write every single word, comma, full stop, in on pages, and take it to him. And then he will ask me to stand and speak about the same content that I've given him. If he sees me speaking even one sentence, sorry, hears me speaking even one sentence, apart from what I've written down, he will tear the paper, ask me to give it back in my hand, and ask me to go prepare and come back. This is how I started public speaking. Public speaking started years ago, but if not for this guy who trained me, I wouldn't be what I am today. I never knew that 5 years ago I would start training and development at iMarticus, and that I will teach several subjects. I never knew this before, that when Rajpal trained me, he was training me for something as big as this. I never thought in my life. See, it is one stage of life that leads you to the other stage. You got to make sure you pick up skills as and when you become aware and conscious that this is the skill I need to pick up. So challenges, if I have to use the word slightly differently, challenges actually means opportunities, right?
Yeah,
Now,
right.
either I run my day doing so-called list of 10 activities that have no significance, or I plan my day in such a manner that I only do those things that really mean something to me. And apart from those activities that mean something to me, I do not do anything else. I'll give you a flip side view. When I meet some friends of mine who started with me in my career, I don't look down on them even today, but they are miles away from the progress I have made in my career. When I asked them, right? I mean, not now, but when I used to ask them, why is it that you do not want to improve in your career? What are you doing about your life? The answers they gave me was, I take life as it comes. I used to wonder how one could take life as it comes. A lot of people today, even today, take life as it comes, which means they just go from one day to another day. They are clueless about how to progress. The problem it leads to is When a tsunami comes into your life, it's not going to tell you that it's going to come. Right? A tsunami is not going to tell you, no, tomorrow, Rohit, I'm going to come across your house. Certain things may happen to you which are not planned for. It's not going to tell you, right? So when surprises hit my life, like an economic downturn, an economic downturn is an example of a tsunami, correct? It's a financial tsunami, right? The stock market going down was a certain kind of tsunami. So when all these tsunamis hit my life, the reason I was not too shaken up was because I was already prepared to handle the worst of the possibilities, because I always had education on my side and hardcore work experience. Irrespective of the industry that I worked for, I could work in another, contribute the same skills in another industry. Now, being prepared to handle this kind of a risk in one's career is of utmost importance, because the way life is looking like, and it's good you asked me this question, Rohit, at the stage in life that we're in at the moment, because the last 2 years, severe setbacks have hit every family. Whoever you may be on planet Earth, many people have suffered financial loss to an extent that they're not, some of them are still waiting to recover, because it's not something you prepared for, right? None of us prepared for a lockdown. I mean, they announced a lockdown even without us preparing for a lockdown. What do you mean by preparation? So many parts of India run today without people planning the next day's budget. How to prepare, yeah, for 5 months, 4 months of lockdown, right? So again, coming back to the question. So being prepared in life as though today was your last day, as though today is the only day that you will live, as though today is your first day, acting as energetic as that every single day is a short answer to your question. The long answer to your question is putting a timetable, making sure that what you planned for. So I'll give an example. There are times when I will say to myself that I'm going to put in 1 hour of study or 1 hour of exposure to this model that I'm building. And today, if I miss it, tomorrow I would spend 2 hours doing that. See, I never negotiate with myself. I'm very, very hard on myself. I'm actually easy with others. The reason I'm very hard with myself is only because if I do not stretch myself enough, right? What do I mean by stretch? If I do not pull myself automatically to my next level that I want to move to, I cannot expect somebody else to be conscious of my dreams, somebody else to be conscious of my desire to grow. Nobody's going to be conscious, right? Because face the fact, this is a world where you're put in for you to be able to accomplish something as a purpose, which you have to create. Sometimes opportunities do not create, you have to create one. This is the environment that we're living in at the moment. So a program like what you're doing gives you a trigger point. It's actually just a trigger. The program you do at iMarticus is just a trigger in your career that makes you aware and conscious that there is this desire that I have to have in my career to move up, not only with respect to my levels in the company, but with respect to the exposure that you gain, with respect to the other opportunities that you may want to pursue, with better speaking ability. See, a person is a system, right? A lot of people think I go to a program, I complete the program, I'll get a job. It doesn't work that way. See, you're a system, right? And for a system to work effectively, you got to, it's like a chisel. You know, how do I put it? Let's take the example. So have you by chance seen the Jagannath temple somewhere in Orissa? Have you seen it?
No.
Okay. Have you seen any temple?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So have you seen some ancient temples?
Yes. Yes.
Very good. So you know very well that people, artists spent countless hours trying to create that image. As it is, those images are so powerful. It appears as though it's coming out of the rock, you know. How could they visualize such beauty when they, for example, in the Mahabalipuram caves in somewhere in Tamil Nadu? I went there, I think 3-4 years ago, in Chennai, correct, at the borders of Chennai. So the Mahabalipuram caves, which are carved out of a single piece of rock, how could the artist envision, no, that he has to create this masterpiece with which is empty rock, right? It's the power of being visual, Rohit. So in your career, uh, having a visualization of where you want to go as a person, the kind of personality that you want to become, the kind of character that you want to develop, the kind of public communication skills that you want to groom in yourself, makes you work as a system. See, if you work on your whole life as a system, you will notice at the moment that there are several areas in your life which needs to be chipped, which needs to be carved, which needs to where you need to bring some life to, because probably your health, you've not spent any time doing anything about it. But obviously, to have an active career, you need good health too. So it's not just one area that you need to focus on. Challenges are many. To address these challenges, coming back to your question, you got to build that internal competence required for you to be able to flourish. And flourishing is not just one area.
Yeah.
It's like an artist bringing to form a beautiful structure which was there in his mind. It takes years to work on it. And that's the way to move forward. I hope I've answered the question.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for the answer.
Guys, for anyone who's asking me going forward, yeah, tell me please. Somebody is asking.
Good evening,
yes.
Karan here.
Hi, Karan.
Sir, I just
you have a great beard, man. Okay, I thought I'll be the only bearded guy here today. Tell me,
someone suggested me to do data analyst course also.
Okay.
So, should I proceed? So I just want to know, like, should I take data analyst also as a serious?
I got your question.
Or should I just?
What is your background, Karan?
Sir, I'm a BCom graduate, sir. I do have 1 year of experience in sales and marketing and 1.5 year experience in accounting, sir.
Understood. Okay. So here's the thing. I have to answer you rightly, primarily because I'm not a part of your academic circle that suggests certain programs. So I will look at it objectively. I hope you don't mind. So I'm not going to say do it, neither am I going to say not do it. I'll tell you why. But I'll just expose the theme that you're trying to talk about. And I want you to just hear me out clearly and then decide for yourself what is it that you want. I'll tell you why I'm saying this way. If I tell you do it, in your mind, it will appear to be, oh, this guy is talking for Marticus. Right. If I tell you don't do it, you will say, why is this guy against my career? So I'll give you an objective view. Hear me out clearly. And I want to ask you only one simple question as I answer it. To find water, will you dig 10 wells 1 feet deep or 1 well 10 feet deep?
1 well 10 feet deep.
Very simple. So what I'm trying to say is, today a lot of people throw many things at you. So they will say, why don't you do business analysis? Why don't you do data analysis? Why don't you do financial modeling? So each of that is 1 feet, by the way. Right? By doing a program like financial modeling, I don't believe, this is me myself saying, I don't believe that it is going to make you an expert unless every day you spend significant amount of time trying to master whatever is taught to you with a significant amount of problem solving problems or case studies that you're looking at, trying to apply yourself in that area where you're spending minimum, say, 3 hours a day over the course of the program, with single-mindedness, achieving this program, completing this program, not only with the purpose of just finishing it, but mastering every technique that is taught to you. If you do that, then obviously you are somebody who's built 1 well 10 feet deep. But if you just do financial modeling, and then a little bit of data analysis, and then a little bit of business analysis, each area is as deep as ever. So let me give an example. A data analyst is somebody who has already spent, say, 5 to 6 years of experience, or he's come fresh, but he's willing to spend those 4-5 hours or 3-4 hours of additional time building those a simple regression model or a multiple regression model, trying to work with Python and ML and build forecasting techniques there, trying to predict data, working with different types of data dictionaries, working with business data, trying to master that. So if he spends that amount of time trying to master that also as an area, opportunities are equally there as well. So it is not like there are opportunities only in finance and no opportunities in data science and ML. Obviously, the future of the world is ML. Now, whether you like it or not, no, in less than a year from now, everybody's going to talk about machine learning. And artificial intelligence is growing at an enormous rate. So it's not possible, Karan, to say in future, I don't know data science, I don't know ML. You cannot say that in future, by the way. I mean, let me tell you, you cannot say that in future because it will be like a given. Like you're doing Pythagoras theorem in school, there's a high possibility that a year or two from now, the rate at which it's growing, people will chuck a Pythagoras theorem out of the textbooks and make sure everybody learns data science and ML as a part of school syllabus. That's how it's going to become. Because, see, technology is growing at an enormous rate. People are talking about self-driven cars already. People are talking of robotic engineering. People are talking about financial modeling taking place through ML. So it's not knowing that all these areas exist, that there is this area called as data science, machine learning, which I can go into, actually works a lot very positively for your career. I'll tell you why. Not knowing it, you won't even be able to work in all those industries that have so many opportunities in that area. But knowing that there is this area that I can master, that I can work on, that I have competence in. See, a lot of students meet me. Sometimes they meet me in one-on-ones too, because I assess each one separately. Because now it's only a general talk, but sometimes I meet students who want to talk more details, so I spend a lot of time with them. Anything you do is based on your existing skill set. Remember that always. So, see, tomorrow if you throw me into the swimming pool, no, a lot of water will come out. I cannot move. Meaning it's not my skill set. Right. So not everything is a part of who I am. But if you see that there is this spark in you, watch a couple of videos. I won't recommend any given video, but there is a rule of thumb, Karan, which I already gave my 3 earlier. The rule of thumb is this. The rule of thumb is, before you test out any area and you want to decide whether it is something that you want to do or don't want to do, spend minimum 20 hours researching that subject, watching videos for 20 hours, not just videos, understand the content for at least 20 hours, after which you make a decision on whether it is something I want to do or don't want to do. See, I'll tell you what happens in many, especially young people's minds these days. I call myself also as young, so I'm also part of the question. The problem with many young people these days is to make an assessment of whether it is something that they want to do or don't want to do, they do it in half an hour. That's the problem. See, half an hour in any subject, it's only going to go over your head. Half an hour in a river, I'm going to run away from the river. Half an hour in a swimming pool, I'm also going to run away. Half an hour with a new instrument, I'm also going to run away. But if I put steady time into it, like learning an hour a day for 20 days, and then after 20 days, I figure out that I think this is something quite exciting. Why don't I do it? That's the state of mind I want you to reach. So it's not a question of whether you want to do or not. It's a question of whether it's a fitment into your personality. See, not everything is something that you will, that is, what is the right word to use? Not everything is something that is worth spending time on. See, I hope it's okay for me to say this point. I mean, I'll say it the way it is. I think the women audience will appreciate my response. When you walk on a certain road, you do not admire every girl, do you? There's only one girl somewhere that you will notice. So what I'm trying to say is, not everyone fits into your psyche. You get what I'm saying? But to make a decision of whether it is a part of you or it is not a part of you, spend minimum 20 hours doing that first, then decide. Sit with a pen and a paper, or a pencil and a paper, then decide, okay, there are these 50 things I've learned in these 20 hours of study that I've done in this subject. These areas excite me. I really want to do it. Move forward, if that is so. But after 20 hours of study, 20 hours of not only looking at videos, but practicing those videos, practicing those exercises that they give in your video, or 20 hours of that program. And at the end of the 20th hour, if this is not for you, be bold and say, it is not for me. You know what I mean? But do not come to that understanding until you spend minimum 20 hours, because research proves that almost anything can be learned. Anything can be learned, man. The reason I'm giving you a lengthy answer is because a lot of people hesitate today. They say things like, I don't know if I can do it. What do you mean? What do you mean by saying, I don't know if you can do it? Have you tried it? The answer is no. How long are you willing to try it? Many people stop after 1 or 2 hours. It is not enough to trigger the neurons in your brain. See, your brain is structured in such a manner that there are neurons which, if it hears information for the first time, most often it rejects it because it's heard it for the first time. Like if I talk to you about which city do you live in?
I live in Coimbatore.
Okay, so if I tell you in Coimbatore, Karan, in Coimbatore, I saw ice today. Are you going to believe me? No, because what does your mind do? The neurons in your brain have rejected that idea, because in Coimbatore, it is, according to you, there is no possibility of seeing ice, right? Because you're hearing it for the first time, so your mind will reject it anyway. But when you keep getting your mind accustomed to the idea, and perhaps if I give you more information saying that, Karan, I'm planning to build a snow city, I'm actually going to freeze the ground, man. I've bought 2.5 acres of land there, and I'm going to freeze the 2.5 acres, and I'm going to create artificial snow. And these are pictures of it. This is how I plan to do it. This is my research and development team. This is how they're going to be doing it in the next month or so. And if I show you all of that, you're going to believe me. So the same neurons are going to accept the idea, because there's more time that you're spending in digesting that same fact over and over again. You hear what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So make sure that you do not forget that the thumb rule is 20 hours with anything that you want to learn. That includes a hobby that you've always wanted to pursue. That includes any interest that you've always wanted to give some time to. Any area of opportunity, spend 20 hours. After 20 hours, decide, is this something I really want to do? If the answer from your heart is yes, go ahead and do it. If the answer is no, you know very well, you don't need to do it. Have I answered the question?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. You're most welcome. You have a follow-up question?
No, sir. For now, this is something which was going through my mind. So I just wanted to clear it.
I hope I've cleared it, because see, clearing it,
yes, sir.
clearing your mind is your job.
My part.
So ask whoever suggested you for the program, ask them for 20 days time, spend an hour extra a day, go through the program content for 20 hours, then decide.
Okay, sir.
Okay?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Guys, I hope you're okay if I chew something when I'm talking, because I've been talking the whole day today, actually. I mean, with other customers and with other people. So my throat is a little dry. So uh, I hope you're okay if I kind of, somebody who's message, how do you cope with the feeling of being stuck in your career? Juhi. Okay. So Juhi is asking this question. Unfortunately, I think she's stuck with her microphone not working. I hope she can hear me, because I think I'm going to answer Juhi, but if she can't hear me, Juhi, I hope you can hear me. I mean, how do I talk to Juhi? Juhi, I understand that you have issues with your microphone. Can you not switch on your video and maybe in sign language you tell me whether you can hear me? Because I'm going to answer your question. How do I cope with being stuck in my career? See, guys, let me give you a view of what I think she's asking. I hope I've got the question right, because a lot of you will feel in your careers, especially after working for some time, that you feel as though you're stuck. You're not too sure if you're moving forward. Moving forward in life is a normal human tendency, yeah. And I want you to appreciate the fact that your mind is telling you that you're stuck. See, guys, answering. Can I have Juhi? Can you hear me? Where is Juhi? I just asked her. She can't hear me, but can
Hello,
she see me?
am I audible?
Yeah, absolutely, Juhi.
Hi, sir. Yeah,
Oh,
I can hear you.
fantastic. Okay. So I'm glad. So I hope you can hear all that I said until now, and then I'll continue from now.
No
Okay.
problem, sir. Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is that there is this very strange feeling, and I know what you mean. When you're stuck in your career, you're like, is this all my skills are? Is this all that I'm capable of? So it's a very good feeling, by the way, because you're feeling very uncomfortable. See, there are many people whom I know who spent 2 decades in one job, and they didn't get that feeling after 2 decades. I have no clue. I cannot be like that. I mean, that's
Okay.
me personally. Because if I'm not challenged in my work, or if I do not challenge myself, and if I do not see myself growing, I don't see a point in working at all. I mean, that's how I view life, because I believe that I must grow irrespective of the kind of role I have. There I must see growth, not only growth in terms of money, but advancement in one's career. Sometimes growth need not necessarily be a ladder. So let me just redefine whatever you're saying. So Juhi, to answer your question, there's one lingering thought in my mind. There are people who feel that they're stuck, but they're absolutely okay working in another function, or moving across the ladder, not bottom up, but across the ladder.
Yeah.
There are times in your career one needs to be doing that, because I'm not too sure if you've done any kind of mountain climbing or hill climbing, or rock climbing. Let me use the right word, rock climbing. See, when you're
Mhm.
doing rock climbing, you try to go one step on another step, but there are times when you got to leave your right hand or your left hand and move to a rock on the left or the right. Hold that, move your feet, crossways, not upwards, because it's giving you a better grip than the stone on top that gave you a grip. So there are many times in life
Yeah.
one will not be able to necessarily move up the ladder, but sometimes you may need to move down the ladder. Sometimes you need to move on the left or on the right, because that gives you a better grasp, or a better competence in other areas that you also want to develop, and then you're ready for the next level. See, not always will you be ready for the next level, right? Sometimes you need work experience across different functions, so that it builds more composure to yourself as a person, and then that makes you ready and capable enough for you to be able to take on the next role. The next role doesn't come automatically unless you're ready for it. To move to the next role, you got to be ready for it, mentally capable, intellectually capable, emotionally capable. A lot of people say that they're capable of doing a certain task, or a certain function, because according to them they have developed enough skill sets is not the point. Intellectual capacity, or intellectual maturity, like you call it. Can you write on a few things, Juhi, if you don't mind?
No problem, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, the first is intellectual maturity. When I say first, it's just the first point. It's not the first point in terms of the order of precedence. It's just a point. So intellectual maturity is something you need to work on. Emotional maturity is something you need to work on. Thirdly, it is called as the volitional maturity. VOLITIONAL. Volitional maturity meaning maturity of the will. When I say will, meaning if
Yeah.
there is something that you say today that you're going to do it, are you somebody who will do it irrespective of whether you hear a thunder or a lightning? You just make a decision to jog. For example, you decide that I'm going to jog for 2 kilometers, but then half an hour later it starts raining. You decided to run, you decided to jog, but then there appears to be a stumbling block in front of you. You see it raining, the sky is suddenly shedding rain. Uh, a person with very strong volitional maturity or maturity of the will run irrespective of whether there is rain or not. I hope you're able to relate to the
Yeah.
example that I'm giving. So,
Yeah.
when one is stuck in their career, it is not only, you feel that not only because of being stuck in your role, but perhaps you've not given attention to these 3 areas that you need to start working on.
Probably. Yeah.
The first being intellectual maturity, the second being emotional maturity, the third being volitional maturity. I wish I had more time to be able to work with you one-on-one, trying to make sure that there is a program for you for each level. Because see, I'm going into several deep areas. Because when you say intellectual maturity is not about whether you can study or not study. I mean, that's not the point. Intellectual maturity is whether you have prudence. Can you write that word down? Prudence.
Yes.
Prudence means foresight. Foresight, meaning you're able to, for example, have a grasp of where the economy is going. You're able to pretty much understand how life is going to be. See, prudence as a quality develops within you when you have what we call as consciousness or awareness around where your life really is and where it needs to go. So actually, on a subject like this, I do not hesitate to talk about spirituality also. I do not believe in religion, but I believe that spirituality gives you an ability to build prudence when the other aspects find it very difficult to do it by yourself. So I'm not sure what branch of spirituality you belong to. Whatever area you belong to is fine. But apart from intellectual maturity, apart from emotional maturity, apart from volitional maturity, we also have the spiritual maturity quotient. And apparently, these 4 measures, if you spend significant amount of time grooming them, that feeling of you feeling blocked in your career will go away. You will find areas to master. You will find opportunities for you to develop personally. In fact, you will grow day in and day out, and you will be able to find opportunities that give you that ability to grow intellectually, that give you the ability to grow emotionally, in making sure your will is strong. Because see, the problem is sometimes you're already ready with respect to the skills you have. You may be already ready with respect to having a good resume, a good career, a good education background, all that may be ready, but you may not have enough courage to be able to take on that decision to move out of a job to which you're already accustomed to moving to an unknown area. That's because one suffers with the maturity of the will. And why is the maturity of the will weak? Because spiritual maturity is weak.
Okay.
See, all of these are interlinked. Yeah, it took me years to talk whatever I'm talking now. Because if you had met me 5 years ago, I would have given you some answer that is not relevant at all. The reason I'm able to give you a thorough answer is because I have actually spent enough time in many areas that include spirituality as well, and I appreciate spirituality of all cultures, to be able to know that unless a real grasp of these 4 areas happen in your life, forever you will see yourself as your career being blocked in certain areas, that you're not able to move forward. That feeling remains because we as humans constantly want ourselves to grow. So there is this desire to grow, but there is no effort that comes on the other 4 levels that I spoke about. Make sure you take efforts to build in your intellectual maturity, your emotional maturity, your volitional maturity or maturity of the will, and your spiritual maturity. Once you build these four, your effort, your desire will work together, and you will create a transformed person. The same person that you are today, you will no longer be. You will see a new version of yourself coming out as quickly as you start doing.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Guys, questions? There's no bad question. You can ask me anything you want.
Sir, if nobody is ready with question, can I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, earlier in your speech, you said like mission language and this what financial modeling goes hand in hand.
How does it go hand in hand?
No, maybe
Is that a question? How does spirituality and financial modeling go hand in hand?
not spiritual, sir. Machine learning.
ML. So here's the thing.
Yes.
Let me give an example. No. Okay. Let's take an example. Okay. So suppose how many trading days are there in a given year, in any given financial year? How many trading days do we have? We have approximately 252 trading days. Yes or no?
Okay. I'm not sure, sir, because I don't
Okay. Okay. So let me ask the question and answer it also.
Okay.
There are approximately 250 or 252 trading days in a given year. Okay. Now, say for example, you're looking at the stock of say ITC Limited or Hindustan Unilever Limited. Okay. Obviously, if you're looking at that stock pattern, you got to take historical data for the last 1 year, right?
Okay.
So once you take historical data for the last 1 year, you'll be able to pretty much see the movement in the stock prices. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
But to know mathematically or financially, how is the movement really happening, you are not going to just work on simple measures like average. That's not enough for you to be able to build a financial model. So for you to build a financial model, minimum you got to understand what is standard deviation of that stock. So for standard deviation of the stock, like we did in school days, you got to do X minus X bar. X minus X bar meaning you got to take each individual price for each individual day, and then take the average of the stock and try to subtract the average of the stock from the stock price for any given day. After you do the standard deviation, you got to figure out the coefficient of variance, and then you will arrive at some measure whereby you know what is the volatility in the stock. You agree until now that you will be able to find out what is the volatility?
Yes.
What is volatility? Volatility is a variation in stock price. Yes or no?
Yeah, the changes in the stock price over the period of time.
Exactly. So in a given day, you do understand that a stock may have an uptick, a downtick.
Yes.
So it may go up or it may go down. No, at several times in the day, right? So there are trading systems available today. So I'm just moving a little forward from financial modeling and how tools like data science and ML will actually come into play, because what traditional areas of finance do very well is trying to build a linear regression model based on say 1 year stock prices. 1 year stock prices. Do you remember in school you did y is equal to mx plus c?
I remember, but if you ask me for which
don't worry, don't worry about it. This program for 2 hours is not going to be content driven. It's only going to be a few thoughts that I'm going to be talking about, so that it triggers the excitement towards areas that you can look at. So y is equal to mx plus c, we learned in school that it tells us that it's about the equation of a certain line, where we know that there is a relationship that one independent variable has with a dependent variable. That's all it is. Y is equal to mx plus c. So you will know that there is a certain pattern if you put the same price of stocks that you've collected for the last 1 year on a scatter plot. You will see a certain pattern. You will try to find the
graph kind of thing.
Correct. You will see some graphs. You'll see some trends. Right. Now this is where financial modeling puts a comma. Puts a comma meaning It doesn't put
Full
a full
stop.
it doesn't put a full stop, which
Mhm.
means there is much more that you can do with the data. Where does machine learning come to play? Using these input parameters, which is basically the stock price, date, the adjusted close price, the volatility and standard deviation for a given day. If you take a given machine learning algorithm, it will use this data and it will build what we call as experimental data. Based on the experimental data, it will predict what the next change in the stock prices will be for the next, say for example, next 3 months or next 6 months ahead. See, the beauty of any prediction model, you're giving it historical data, and you're telling the model that I need certain predictions based on randomness. The theory of randomness is this, Maitri. As much as life is random, when we say random, not everything can be predicted, can it?
No.
But there is a certain pattern that the technology algorithm will understand based on the input parameters that you're giving the technology. Okay. And once you are able to figure out that there are these input parameters which are giving my algorithm certain inputs for it to predict certain outputs, ML is absolutely necessary for you to be able to work on the next level of data with respect to predictions and what the stock prices of this particular stock is going to be with a certain level of accuracy or a certain probabilistic determination model. It will predict what the stock prices for the next 6 months will be. Now, obviously, stock prices may not necessarily be the same, but it may have a certain amount of variation based on what the model is giving you and what the stock prices may be on that given business day. However, that model is going to learn over a period of time. The model is going to not only learn, it will also unlearn to such an extent that one day prediction will be, I won't say fully accurate, I'll say 85% to 90% accuracy with the data models that many companies are building today. So there's tremendous relevance between financial modeling and ML, but to have that relevance, you got to know what financial modeling is first.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like financial modeling is the foundation stone. And once the foundation is thorough and you pretty much know how to look at data, how to extract data, how to transform data, how to load data, how to dissect data, how to disintegrate data, how do I massage my data? Once all of that is clear, building, making sure that a simulation model can be worked at using all the tools and technologies available in modern times. I mean, sky is the limit, Maitri, to which these models can work. It's simply phenomenal, but it should excite you, obviously. So if it excites you, it will give you great learning. If it doesn't excite you, nothing will give you learning.
I'll remain same. That's it.
Yeah. So there is a lot of relationship between financial modeling and
no, sir. I just
data.
wanted
It is there.
to. No, I just wanted to understand, like, to what extent will the finance people work? Okay.
Absolutely useful. And even in traditional areas of finance, suppose today you have, say you have sales. You know that your company has done certain sales for the last, say, 6 months. You know that pattern, and say you know the pattern of fixed cost and you know the pattern of variable cost, for example. Okay, and you know very well sales minus fixed cost minus variable cost equals profit. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right. So, but you have data, say, for 6 months. Now, 6 months meaning you have data, you have 6 data points for these four columns. You have sales data for 6 months, you have fixed cost for 6 months, you have variable cost for 6 months, you have profit for 6 months. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Now, these are 4 input parameters. Now, based on these 4 input parameters, using the prediction models that are available today, there are tools where you can predict using 500 experiments, even 1,000 experiments you can do on this data model, given the variation in your fixed cost, variable cost, and profit for 6 months. The tool will analyze if there were 500 months where a similar pattern exists, where a similar pattern in the standard deviation in sales, standard deviation in variable cost, standard deviation in fixed cost, standard deviation in profits is there. What will a next 500 months approximately look like? There are models today, even in traditional finance, Maitri, which uses algorithms to predict that data. And it is absolutely available. There are finance experts who are friends of mine who do it even today.
Okay.
So it's all with respect to how much exposure you want. The scope is extensive, even more than you can imagine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Guys, unbelievable, man, that some of you don't even have a question to ask me. Ask me anything. Where I live, what do I do? All this comes from one fundamental point, when you were in school, maybe you studied in DPS or NPS or whatever. I'm not giving any bad examples. I'm not saying that they're bad examples, but if at all you studied in some rigorous atmosphere, I'm not necessarily talking about DPS or NPS, but any similar kind of schools where once you raised your hand to ask a question, your teacher said, don't ask questions. And then you grow up in a corporate ladder and you're wondering, should I ask? Should I not ask? What if this guy says something? What if others feel bad? Guys, there's nothing called as a bad question. It's fine. Ask. I'm actually encouraging all of you, in case you did not know that. Okay. I have a question for all of you. Did all of you watch the budget that was presented by Nirmala Sitharaman?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, what is your view on it?
So I feel very bad for all the investors who have invested in the cryptocurrency, especially.
Okay.
Because there is a tax of 30%.
So you're saying income earned should not be taxed? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir, but 30% is very high.
Very high. Okay. What according to you is a good percentage to tax people?
For digital assets, it should have been like 15% plus some surcharge of 8%, 7%.
Right. May I ask you a follow-up question? What percentage of the economy do you think invests in digital currencies?
So today, like many of them are just downloading all these apps and start. They are mentioning they are investing in trade and everything, but they're just not following the right path of investment.
Right. So guys, what I'm trying to, the reason I'm asking these questions is, in case all of you are wondering, what's the percentage of people who invest in the stock market? In India being such a large economy, we are easily 1.3 billion, which is 130 crore population. The statistics say that approximately 4% or 4.5% of people maximum invest in the stock market. Can you imagine? 96% of India does not invest in the stock market. Why do you think people in India are clueless that there is a stock market in which they can actually earn returns, that it is an opportunity for them to be able to invest their savings? Why do you think people in India do not do that?
Lack of knowledge, how to invest.
Okay, there could be lack of knowledge. Yes.
Lack of
highly volatile.
Yes,
lack of what, Karan?
Like many people fear of investing.
Yes. The fear of
their mind is like, oh, like this guy incurred loss, but they just don't see that he has incurred profit also.
Right. So the first is, what if I lose money?
That's the fear which people carry in their minds.
Right. So the first is the fear of loss of money, and next is awareness. I agree that there is no awareness on most of the things, because if you understand India as a country, very conservative economy, coming from a very conservative culture. So obviously the young people crowd today are probably better than the young people of the early generation, because this generation at least wants to try out new things, wants to try at new possibilities. The early generation did not even do that. The early generation just went to work to make sure that they were there working and able to build up the family and things like that. That was primary concern. No, see, most of India today, as we see it today, we got to be realistic of what we're trying to talk about. So I'll tell you why this this point, on taxing digital money is not one of the agendas of the government. Why they tax that much is and not less is because a very small portion of it enter that area, and they may want to capitalize as much as possible on it. That's one reason. Because India, as we see it today, most Indians, which approximately, to my knowledge, around 30 to 40% of Indians, are only bothered about food. Did they eat today? Is there a shelter over their head? Standard needs. Are their children going to school? Do they have a job? This is all. And when 30 to 40% of Indians are in that set of caliber, where most of their so-called economic engagement is with respect to is limited to do I have a job of some nature? Am I saving little? Am I running my home? Are my children going to school? Is that taken care of? Once that is taken care of, then they move to the next level, right? So India as a nation, it sounds very nice to know that people have dreams that we should rise. It's good to rise. It's not like we haven't risen. India, right from ancient times, was already a country with an amazing amount of intellectual capability. We were always known for the Ramanujan that we produced in India, and several masters in several branches of science and philosophy that we produced in India. But why is it that we can't linger with that thought, and why is it that others are not able to see that we are capable of this? Because the majority of India is only focused on whether we can eat and whether we can live. Because face the fact, with the current rate of inflation, I know Nirmala Sitharaman boasted that it's around 6%. It's to a middle class household. Inflation being around 6%, you ask a middle class household whether they agree with you, whether they agree that the prices have not gone up. It's not about comparing. Forget about comparison. It's about the time in which you live today. With the so-called money that you're getting from a so-called one income, are you capable enough to be able to run your house, as well as send your children to school, as well as buy your medicine? It's a big challenge at month end for most Indians. So only when you have additional disposable income, right, will your mind open up to opportunities in investment. Remember this formula, guys, which I will give you today, and this formula is for life. Yeah, can you write this down? There's an economist known as Paul Samuelson. Can you write his name down, please? This author is tremendously useful even in the program that you're studying at the moment. His name is Paul Samuelson. Is everyone with me? Can you hear me out, guys? Can you respond that you're writing something or not?
Yes, I think so.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, Paul Samuelson. So he says, consumption plus investment plus saving. Consumption plus investment plus saving equals income. Very simple. This is the formula that everyone in this planet Earth lives with. So an income comes to them. From that, they figure out how much should be consumed, how much should be invested, how much should be saved, and how much should be consumed. This is the only formula everybody works with. The problem with majority of the households, obviously, everything is going in consumption, very little in saving. Investment is something that one can think about if one moves up the hierarchy of needs, right? See, guys, every household in India has a certain hierarchy, right? First is my needs as with respect to home, housing, shelter, etc., education. Then comes social needs. Then comes esteem needs, and finally self-actualization. Very few people even go to the level of talking about spirituality. First of all, forget about talking, even living spirituality, because that's the last thing that they can think about. Because when the mind is only bothered about the stomach, where is the time to think about the soul, right? So this is the situation that we're in India. And talking to an audience like this in India, which is predominantly preoccupied with thoughts of food, shelter, clothing, it's almost impossible for them to think that they can make money in the stock market, because for them it's not about putting that money, additional money, It's about losing that additional money when it could have got consumed into something which is more important. So the opportunity cost, is something that every household evaluates, because 1 rupee going into saving should is that rather better, or 1 rupee going into investment is that rather better? To a middle class household, as long as the money is sitting somewhere in the bank account, they do not understand that money in the bank account is not giving the benefits. Obviously, today we're running with savings rates of approximately 6-7%. That's the maximum any bank is giving, right? If you tell me, if the rate of saving is equal to the rate of inflation, what is the point of saving? You tell me, Chris. If the simple,
Nothing.
no, nothing, right? Because your money cannot grow. Your money is only actually going down the drain. It is just getting readjusted for inflation. 1,000 rupee worth in your bank account today with a 6% inflation rate is going to be equal to less than 1,000 rupees 1 year later. So, guys, we have to wake up to the waves that we are seeing in India. I'm not talking of COVID. I'm talking about the economic wave, the political wave, the cultural wave that we are in at the moment. We have to wake up and understand that if we do not belong to that category of people who are just taking care of their livelihood, and perhaps if you have sufficient disposable income at your hand for you to be able to invest, unless you invest, you cannot grow that money, right? You have to look at obviously a sizable, a good type of investment for you to be able to grow your money. Whether you've identified a stock that is going to give you a return on equity or a return on investment of say more than 15-20%, or you're looking at land as an investment opportunity, or you're looking at buying a flat or whatever, you'll be able, unless you do it, your money cannot grow, is what I'm saying. Because frankly, your money in the bank account is getting eroded. There are only zeros there in the bank account. Whatever number of zeros you put there, that is only getting eroded day in and day out, because it is not got invested either in education or invested in some area that is making it grow. Now in India, it's very easy for people to say, find a job and that will be enough. See, guys, we are in such turmoil today as a nation that you may be able to show any number as a growth rate, because according to many analysts, India is obviously growing. It is. I agree with them. India is growing, but what area is it growing in? You have to ask, right? Is it growing in the pharmaceutical sector? Absolutely, because there are more than 1 lakh pharmaceutical companies in India. I'm not joking. 1 lakh pharmaceutical companies. Can you imagine that number? A huge number. Look around your area, no? 5 years ago, were there so many medical stores near where you and I lived compared to what it is today? Look at the medical profession, for example. 5 years ago, did you see so many doctors here and there like you see them today? Guys, I'm asking a simple question.
No, actually.
Yeah. So if you see more medical stores and if you see more doctors today compared to 5 years ago, does it mean that people are becoming more healthy or people are becoming unhealthy?
More diseases out there.
There are more diseases.
Disease.
And let's go a little more further into that question. Why are there more diseases? Because of so-called economy of convenience. Convenience, paying through phone pay, Paytm, Google Pay. Buy a tatte idli for 70 rupees. It costs 10 rupees if you walk half a kilometer, but you want to order the Swiggy and Zomato and buy it for 70 rupees or 80 rupees. And you want apps to suggest what is good for you to eat and what is not good for you to eat. This is the so-called Maya that you and I are in, or illusionary world that you and I are in, because of a so-called need called convenience, which has picked up itself in the last 10 years that we see. Now, so we are going through a lot of change in this country. This is why there is no awareness. Awareness is not there. I agree, but that's not because people don't want to know. It's because the mind is not able to absorb that there are these other things that I can do with my life, because the mind is busy solving today's problems. If you're busy solving today's problems, you tell me, how can I have a sense of purpose for my life? How can I think about what I'll be 1 year from now? So what is it that a nation like India has to do? I'm not the economist, but there are economists that suggest what needs to be done. Obviously, life has to become affordable. If life has to become affordable, uh, the prices of food grains and what is necessary for a family to consume, the cost of rent, housing, etc., must go down. Because if people are able to live and they're able to build their lives and their capabilities as individuals, there will be the additional disposable income available at their disposal for them to look at savings and for them to look at investment. Guys, a lot of banks in the so-called financial industry are only busy cheating people. Yeah, I have to say it in a certain way, because here's the thing. Today, artificial intelligence has got enabled even on your phone. I'm not too sure if any of you know this or not, but half an hour after this class today, because your phone, which was near your laptop, or you're possibly listening to me from your own phones, the AI is available. The AI software is available on your phone will pick up signals of me having said something about money, having said something about finance, and you will, all of you or most of you, will get a call saying from a personal loan guy asking you, do you want to take a personal loan? Do you want to take bank? We have bank overdraft facility at this percent. Would you want to take it? And I'm sure you've already had such experiences. You know, you've spoken to a friend about not having money, and then and then you get a call from somebody in personal loan department from some HDFC or whatever bank they call themselves. You know, this is the illusory world we are in. People are getting sucked into debt when they are not able to pay it off early. You know, the economy is going through a lot of non-performance assets in banks. Several banks have non-performance assets. Why are they having non-performance assets? Because loans are given to people who are not able to pay back. Easy credit is available. You know, yes, availability of credit is necessary, but easy credit. You don't do a sufficient investigation of how each of these people are going to be paying you back money, and what has that resulted in? It has resulted in a lot of bad debts which are very difficult to recover, and your non-performing assets are growing. So life, as you see today, guys, frankly, it is sometimes very scary to know that a given person in the age group of 25 to 30 already has a personal loan. They've not even started their careers, or have possibly just started. It's so worrying when I meet young people and they share with me that, for their education, they have to take a loan, for buying a bike, they have to take a loan, for buying a fridge, they have to take a loan. I mean, what in the world are we doing, Why is all this convenience required? Uh, why can't it be postponed? You know, see, I don't want to appear old in front of you all, because I do believe I'm quite young and I'm very vibrant. I have energy that starts at 6 a.m. My life, it starts at 6 a.m. I go to midnight on any given day. I meet a lot of people in my career. Uh, but the fact is this, that I've realized that convenience cannot be a need that you feed it with. The more convenient you want your life to be, notice what it's coming with, guys. You are bearing a huge cost just because you want convenience at your fingertips. Huge cost with respect to debt burdens going up, huge cost with respect to some of these purchases that you could have easily postponed but you wanted today. Huge cost in your health because you want everything to happen, because you desire a certain thing to be had now. You don't even want to work half an hour. I'm meeting 30-year-olds, guys, 30-year-olds who have diabetes, who have cholesterol, who have blood pressure. Because notice, when you set a certain lifestyle to your life, you got to eat the fruits of it. And it's not a healthy lifestyle that you're giving birth to in modern times, because of a so-called need for convenience that some of us are going into. So you asked me a very large question, and the thoughts are leading me to say that people will possibly go into digital currency, and they'll be able to invest in the stock market, perhaps when their debts are eased, when they have lesser burdens and lesser issues to deal with on a daily basis. Then the mind will rise up to seek other opportunities. Yes, guys, thoughts, questions? There are 29 of you, including me. It's unbelievable that you don't have a question. Seriously, it is. I'm going to ask you for one more minute. Do any of you have questions or thoughts or comments that you have?
Sir, we have questions.
Yes. Yes, Amada.
Yes. Once again. Okay. Okay. What is the daily routine you want us to do daily to achieve something in financial industry? Or
See,
what are the basic routines you follow?
right.
Daily routines.
So very simply, right? I mean, it's a beautiful question, because the word routine means something that you would want to do on a daily basis.
Yes.
Now, the way I look at it, many of the skill sets that I built over a period of time happened because I had a routine. If there was no routine, there's nothing to build. Excuse me, I'll just clear my throat a little.
Okay.
So one of the best routine to have is to read the Economic Times every day.
Okay.
Why am I suggesting the Economic Times as a good English business newspaper? Is because it's written beautifully. There are no other comparable newspapers, even if you take the other ones. I don't want to give necessary names to it. It does not give you the kind of thoughts that are necessary, and the kind of articles that they cover are just tremendous. So if you buy the Economic Times daily, at least between Monday and Friday, and start reading whatever aspects of it appeals to you. So anyone new to Economic Times will get tired in a couple of minutes, because first of all, it looks brown in color and it's not very interesting to look at. Right? In Tamil, they use various words for it anyway. So, but it's important to have a pattern and try to read it daily, irrespective of whether you understand or not. So when I started reading the Economic Times years ago, I used to read it even when I didn't understand a single word. But because there were words in it that I did not know. And if there were words in it that I did not know, I would underline it. And later I would pick up a dictionary and try to find the meaning of it. And I'll try to use it in the English language. So what happens is, periodically, when this becomes a part of your lifestyle, you develop the competence needed for you to be able to respond to any kind of a business question that you may be asked in an interview. See, the problem with interviews today, it's not done with the traditional approach that we used to do interviews with before. Today, there's a concept called as behavioral interviewing. Can you write that word down? Behavioral interviewing. Behavioral interviewing does not ask you a simple yes or a no answer. Behavioral interviewing, they will ask you a certain theme, or they'll ask you to quote a certain experience in your life and how you relate that to work. So when themes like this come, it's impossible for you to talk unless you have picked up ideas, concepts, and you're trying to interrelate and connect the dots between whatever you've read over a period of time, applying it to your own personal life, trying to see which industry or company you can quote and talk about. That amount of exposure is lacking today in the interview process. So there are interviewers who are not able to get the right kind of people whom they want, primarily because there are no candidates who are actually prepared for this kind of interviewing. What is the basic problem? Everything that is studied today or learned today is like that of a parrot. People just read something, and according to them, they've understood. See, what you've read from some author is what the author has written. It's not your mind. Once you digest and practice it and
We
make
should
sure,
process it
yes, and make
inside
sure
us.
that you know what he's talking about, and trying to work with some permutations and combinations within the same thing that you grasped, and once you're able to apply it to your life, is when we believe that a concept is something that we have understood. So again, going back to some examples, right? In school time, we learned something called as the Pythagoras theorem, which actually is used in the construction industry. The entire construction industry works on the principle of the Pythagoras theorem. But when they taught us in school, they never told us so. And because they didn't tell us, we were not able to
Yes.
relate with what we studied. And
Why we
um,
study, we don't
yeah,
know actually.
we have no clue actually.
Yes.
So that is the problem. So it's not just, so when I say a routine, it's not just reading the economy times, it's being able to absorb it. I always tell my students to read it loudly, because there's a certain way your mind works actually. When you read it loudly, your ears listen to what you're speaking and you're saying, and your mind
Register
absorbs.
it
Yes, your
in your
mind
brain.
mind registers it, and your ability to speak the English language is also going to improve.
Also grow. Okay.
Your diction will improve. You will tell,
Pronunciation also
your
will improve.
pronunciation will improve.
Okay.
So there's a lot that can be done in one's routine, but primarily the economy times is first. Secondly, any given financial analyst will will try and spend a few moments on the stock exchanges, trying to understand where the market is going today. So understanding the pattern of how the market is moving today, understanding which economic policy, which political policy, primarily economic and political policy, is triggering which aspect of the market. Why is the market having an upward trend? Why is it having a downward trend? Trying to understand what's happening in the Bombay Stock Exchange or the National Stock Exchange daily, studying the pattern of where things are, probably looking at a few companies to understand where is the stock going, is something that you need to build a good routine with daily, because a life of a financial analyst is quite laborious. There are many hours in a day that you will have to work. When I began my career in the area of financial analysis years ago, my lifestyle was this: the Economic Times daily, understand where the markets are going. Then you start meeting investors. Then they ask you for certain content that you have to put together. Obviously, you got to be very sharp, knowing what aspects of the market do I pull up and what do I present in what manner. Your presentation skills has to grow. Your usages of tools and technologies, primarily Excel, Microsoft, PowerPoint, your presentation skill sets has to grow. So uh, nobody, see today, I'm sorry, your good name is Amuda, right? So Amuda, nobody is going to tell you, I'm going to give you time to learn. Normal excuse that interviewees or candidates give is, if I'm given the time to learn, I'm going to absorb. See, nobody wants to give you time to learn. You got to be ready for the job before the job happens. So you got to make presentations even now, even when you don't know when you're going to be using it. You got to prepare financial models even now, even if you're not going to be using it in future, because anyone who recruits you today is not going to give you time to learn. The expectation is that they're going to hire somebody who knows everything. It's obviously impossible to find,
Okay.
but the moment they know that there is these basics that this person knows already, and this is the kind of person that they want to hire for the role, then they make a decision of hiring the person. So it's not something that uh, so routine. So again, coming back to the question of routine, obviously the first routine is necessarily reading the Economy Times. You focus the question around, what do I need in the area of financial modeling? So obviously the Economy Times, studying the stock markets, getting in tune with the tools and trends available in the industry. That includes tools and technologies that you can use. Pretty much is something that has to be a part of your routine. Once this is a part of your routine, you will certainly develop in that area.
Okay. Okay. Is it stressful as a financial analyst?
Um, um,
Stress.
uh, if you want a very simple answer, the answer is yes.
Okay.
Extremely,
Oh my
not
God.
not
Okay.
little. There were times in my career when I used to go at 9:30, 10 in the morning and come back at 3 a.m. next day.
My God.
So I
Okay.
I have had, I won't give you the name of the company because I'm talking on video and obviously this is going to be uploaded. So but I have had that lifestyle for 2 years in my career. It was almost every day because um, see, in the area of finance, we deal with a lot of numbers. You do not, as you move up the corporate ladder and as you move up the level, very few people review your work because they believe that if you present something, it's going to be true. See, in the initial part of your career, you have somebody to review your work. But as you go up in your corporate ladder, you find very few people reviewing your work. So it's not just about preparing a certain report. It's not about just making sure that you're presenting something to an investor audience um, uh, and presenting it to them. It's about making sure that what you're doing, at least you know that it's right. So there were days if I have to leave at midnight, my boss used to stay up much later than me. I had a lady boss for 2 years, and that woman would stay up even later than me. If I leave at midnight, she'll ask me, "So Sunil, is it half a day for you today?" I'm like, "I came at 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning." What are you talking about? But so stress, absolutely. I have seen a lot of stress, extreme high stress to a point where, to give an example, have you seen glass jars?
Yes.
Okay. So a friend of mine, we used to work for the similar industry. So, you remember that old phone, Nokia 3110, something like that? The old
It's
phone.
2222 1100. It's
Exactly.
a
Those
button.
days. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. So we used to come home at 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the morning, and he used to have a glass bottle full of change, full of money, coins, and he'll
Okay.
put the phone inside that and close the lid and keep it next to his ears and sleeps. Because even if we sleep at 3 a.m., there'll be some call that comes at around 6:30 telling us something didn't work from last night.
Oh my God.
And that's the only way he could hear. That's the only way he could hear. So um, life as a financial analyst, interesting, very good question. Was it stressful? Absolutely. I think I spent more than 12 years in my career with very little sleep, not 1 or 2 years, 12 years. I started my career in the year 2000 until 2012, more or less that was the lifestyle. Not 3 4 hours sleep. The 3 4 hours sleep was there only for 2 years. But the rest of the time, I think 6 hours is maximum I got.
Oh my God.
Primarily because, see, in India, when you work in such roles, money comes. Definitely money comes over a period of time. You're not managing just one market. There is an Asian market which gets up before you. So we have China, we have Japan, we have Malaysia, we have Philippines, Singapore, all those, Indonesia, all those markets are there. No, so you got to, obviously, as a financial analyst, you got to look at how trends are in those sectors as well. Then you got to wake up to see what the Indian market looks like. Then obviously the UK market will open up later, and then you have the US market. So most of these investment banks work with jobs that have got outsourced from the US and the UK, and they need to be managed out of India for varied markets. So when money movement is happening between all these time zones, and when there is a certain number of teams that you got to manage to make sure everybody is doing it, you're obviously accountable for the work that they do, right? So that's another reason. And over a period of time, it's not like stress went away. I learned to manage stress. So there's a
In
difference
initial
between
days, it will be more stressful, right?
um,
Or
I'll actually like to turn the equation and say, initial days you have lesser stress compared to the levels of responsibility that you gather. Because, for example, my boss in that example that I gave was the vice president for strategy, and she used to work harder than me. See, in an investment bank, it differs. People go up the corporate ladder, they work much harder. So the money paid in an investment bank to you is based on your experience and your credentials. And the higher you go, the more you get paid. Obviously, the more work you have. It's not the traditional mindset that we have in India. We think what? We think we'll work for a couple of years, then maybe we'll become a team lead, and maybe it is time to get married, and maybe it is time to get married when we're assistant manager. Forget about it. For after getting married years ago, I think I met my wife only on a Saturday and a Sunday. Till I think 4 years of marriage. After the fourth year of marriage is when we had time for each other. Until then, time never happened. So it's not an easy thing.
no work-life balance.
It's very difficult to find work-life balance. You're right, uh, unless you learn to find balance.
Okay.
So
Time management, you are saying.
no. The reason I tilted towards a lot of spirituality and spiritual techniques was because when I learned meditation, there were certain postures that I used, where if I spend about 20 minutes, 30 minutes in that posture, it's equal to sleeping for 2 hours. There are
Oh,
several techniques of
okay.
that one uses in yoga and other spiritual areas, which if you have to
Changed
be
your lifestyle for
absolutely,
this.
which if you use, you'll at least be sane and healthy in the head. So I started practicing them, and that is what has given me good health, irrespective of the nature of work I've had. So I've worked very, very long hours for many years. And so it's not like stress disappeared, but my ability to manage stress became
It's
better.
grown up. Okay.
And then I learned to manage my lifestyle better. Then I learned how to do the same amount of work in lesser time, because the more tools and technologies that you're aware of, the more quicker your work will be. So you got to master yourself, right? Obviously, you do one kind of work today in 2 minutes. Second time you do it, it's going to be lesser than 2 minutes, no?
Okay.
So
Yes.
but when you learn a tool and technology that automates your work, obviously you save a lot of time. So I started investing in that, learning that, and that over a period of time uh, cut all the unnecessary work I was doing, and it made my life simpler. And then
Minimalist. You became a minimalist in your
yes,
work.
it took
Okay.
it took time to get there, but I got there. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank
Yes.
you.
Welcome. Yes, guys, questions. Please use the time available for you. Like I said, there's nothing called as a bad question. You can ask me anything you want. It's fine.
Which city do you live, sir? Is it Bangalore?
At the moment, meaning as of now, as of now, I'm living in Bangalore. I do
You
travel a
said
lot because of my lifestyle. I need to meet quite a few people, so I do travel a lot. But at this point in time, I live in Bangalore. Yes, I have lived in other cities as well, Mumbai, Chennai, and a few others. But Bangalore is the city I've resided in for quite a long period. Yes.
you said 30 idli, so I asked.
The reason I said that is because I find people near my area buying it early in the morning, and I can get the same thing for about 10 rupees, hardly 100 meters down the line. But but they want to order it on Swiggy and not go there and buy.
Yeah.
You
Bangalore
know,
is so weird where to find people standing in queue for buying
right?
some food. Yes.
Yeah, guys, not only mail, feel free to write. So let me give you my mail ID. At gmail.com. Yeah. So as we talk, I'm probably going to the UK in a couple of days from now. So I definitely will travel, which is why I had time today only for this class. So yes, feel free to write. In these last 5 years, I must have got in touch with approximately something around 700 students, or maybe 800 students to be more precise. That's the number of students I've trained until today. Uh, maybe even more than that, because I don't remember. So the last 5 years that I've got associated with Imarticus, and there are several students of mine who are friends, and we've learned to grow. I do not believe in telling people that I'm a mentor. I'm actually not. There are many things I learn from other people too. So I'm fine interacting with people. So feel free to say a hello. Feel free to interact. It's normal.
Thank you, sir.
I have time for one more question. Some of you are wondering, what in the world do I ask this guy? You can ask me anything, I told you. I'm going to ask you one more time. Do you have any questions? Any last questions? If you do not have, it's fine if you don't have. So I would like to wish you all the best in your careers. Keep the candle lit. By that I mean, keep the interest, and the interest with which you started the program, make sure you have it until the end. There are different kinds of students like I meet, and some of them have the same vigor until the end. Do they pass out with flying colors? Absolutely. The others who start at the beginning, in the middle, they are lethargic. And there are excuses. So let me give you a couple of examples of excuses. So people will say excuses like, I am busy with work, I am married. Guys, no matter the excuse, an excuse is always an excuse. Remember, it's just a reason you're giving for not doing enough, and it is never okay. Because the problem is this, that if you do not learn to master yourself and put that amount of time uh, in your careers, and if you don't improve now, like I said, life will come like a tsunami someday. And what you don't want is life to hit you in a manner that you never thought it's going to hit you, and then you're not able to come out of it. So I like to end with this small illustration. I'm not sure if all of you have seen a lotus flower or not, but I always give this example to most people, and I tell them, be like the lotus flower, which blooms early in the morning and stays afloat on the water. In the daytime, night, it goes back into the water. Next day, it comes out again. Meaning, be alive, be energetic, feel enthusiastic about life, be passionate about your dreams, your realities, your goals, your aspirations. Remember, every struggle that you go through is an opportunity for you to develop yourself and your family. So do not leave any opportunities out of the table. Try and see how you can make the best of you come out. Because end of the day, life is not about whether somebody told you a good or a bad, or somebody's encouraging you or not. Life is all about, you had a certain time in this earth. It's a journey that you had to walk. Did you do it well? That is all that life is about. So I wish you a bright career ahead of you all. It was very nice interacting with you. It was very nice talking to you all. And I really hope that our paths cross each other someday.
I really look forward to meet you someday, sir.
Okay. Thank you all, and I wish you a good day ahead of you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank
Have a good
you.
day.
Thank you too.